Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to look at configuration management tool, which is Ansible. The whole essence of having the configuration and configuration tool like Ansible, it helps us to automate our server configuration, so to say. And this is more like an extension of the previous video on, or a continuation of our DevOps Tooling website solution, which we have kind of done quite a lot. We started by configuring a simple web architecture using web servers, database server, and NFS server to kind of manage the entire flow. We went ahead by adding a load balancer with a SSL certificate. We added a Jenkins server for continuous integration and deployment. And that kind of ensure that we can easily, update our source code from GitHub and ensure that that is automatically, built and deployed directly to the NFS server, which can then be accessible by the users, without us, shutting down our servers or manually copying those files to the stuff. So if you have been following up with this, at least you will understand what the architecture diagram is actually talking about. So we are still kind of maintaining the same architectural diagram. The only addition we will be doing is for us to introduce what we call a bastion host, or what we call a jump server. And the main reason why you want to do this is basically in two reasons. As you can see from my I think I had a self-study session somewhere here. So in the self-study session, we kind of talked about why do we need a bastion host or a server. Basically, there are two uh, there, there are two main reasons, or we can say three main reasons. One is security, because having a bastion host will ensure that instead of having direct access to the server via SSH from the public or from the internet, we restrict those access within the private network of our server. At the moment, we are using AWS, so we are making use of the subnet, which is the private network for all the servers, and which means that people will not be able to access it into any of these servers from outside. The only server that will have the external access through SSH will be the bastion host, and via the bastion, and kind of this also kind of reduce the attack surface to our servers. Imagine you have 100 servers, and we kind of, based on having 100 servers, we don't really need to have 100 connection, have to individually enter into those servers to configure anything. So with the help of a bastion host and the configuration management tool, we should be able to SSH into those private network, from our bastion node, automate our configuration, instead of doing it manually and stuff like that. Also help us for access control, to ensure that whatever we are doing on each of those servers can be trailed. There can be an audit trail to know who entered the trial server, what did they do on the server, and stuff like that. And given the fact that you can only enter the server from a single point, you can actually be able to track what was going on each of those servers, having a single access point and stuff like that. And one of the key things I've actually enjoyed with the Ansible is the opportunity to kind of automate your entire configuration. When I was setting up this entire architecture, I spent hours. You SSH into the DB, you have to install all the different packages for the DB to be up and running. You do this the same thing for the NFL, for each of the web servers, even though it's basically the same thing you are doing on each of the server, but you have to do it manually, individually. Then you do the load balancer server, you come back to the Jenkins server, you do the same thing and stuff like that. And it can be quite hectic. It is prone to errors and stuff like that. So, but with the help of an Ansible, which is a configuration tool, I just need to launch those servers on AWS, tag them properly on AWS, and that's all. Once I've done that, it's just for me to write my Ansible configuration code, which we are going to kind of look into once we get into the video proper. And once you have done the right configuration setting or code, you can push it to GitHub for your team members to probably review, or other team members to make use of it. Then based on that, you can just run your Ansible playbook, and from your bastion server, it will directly SSH into the servers and install the necessary package without manual interaction. And this makes it easier for us to quickly launch as many servers as possible without spending time manually configuring and stuff like that. And that's one of the beautiful thing about having a configuration tool like Ansible. So in this tutorial, we are just going to demonstrate the benefit of having Ansible on our systems as part of our infrastructural configuration tool, as you can see. So to achieve this, we'll probably start from our VS Code, which is kind of strange or kind of different, or a kind of a strange departure from what we have been using since we started creating videos around this. We have actually been using our normal terminal. But as a way, it's what we call infrastructure as a code, or whatever, or part of the DevOps process. You can know we talk about dev, or which is development and operation. So this is more like the development part of the whole DevOps workflow. So basically, we'll be making use of what we call an ssh-agent, and you can kind of go through my self-note. An ssh-agent is just a way for us to have access to our private key, the server private key on our remote server, right? Even though the private key is kind of located on our local machine so it's more like I'm having a bastion host, and that I've actually SSH into using my private key from my local machine. But I still need the same private key to be able to SSH into the private network of other servers. And it doesn't make sense to be copying your private key from one server to another because of security. So we make use of this SSH key. We kind of store our private key in a secure location on our local machine. Then we make use of the SSH agent, using the forward agent functionality from it to kind of access other server through the SSH connection from our bastion host. For this particular setup, we are going to make use of our Jenkins. We are going to kind of make use of our Jenkins as the bastion host. In later video, we are going to have a dedicated bastion host, but just for the sake of simplicity, we are going to make use of our Jenkins server as our bastion host. So to kind of start that, we are going to start our SSH agent. Just copy this code. This should start up the SSH agent, right? Then we are going to add our private key to the SSH agent, which I'm going to use. This calling means home/devs, which is my location. Then I can do this. Then you can confirm that has been added by doing ssh add -l, which shows that okay, this has actually been added to the SSH agent. Now I need to start what we call the remote-ssh, which you click on this, you click on connect host. Ideally, you won't see this for the first time, but because I've configured this on my system, that's what I'm saying. But for you, you need to click on what we call configure the SSH host. So you click on this. You're going to see something related to this, but if you don't see that, you can quickly just create that by writing. You can do the sudo nano. Then you can just do a curly and do slide.ssh, which you can see. Then you can do configure, right? If you press enter, this should help you to set up the configuration file if it's not on your system. But because it's on my system, I won't need to write that command. So I'll just click on this. So basically what I have there is this how it looks like. For the host, you can call the host any name of your choice. I choose to call it Jenkins Ansible because that's the server I'm trying to connect to. Then when it comes to the host name, you just need to come to your AWS console. You can see that the host name is actually the public IP4 DNS, which you can copy here and paste. If you don't know what the user is, for me, I'm using Ubuntu, and by default, the user on Ubuntu is just Ubuntu. But for your own case, if you are not sure, you can select your instance, click on connect, then look in front of this. After this is your private key. Directly before the symbol, whatever you have here is what your username is. Mine is Ubuntu, and that's the reason why you have Ubuntu here. Then the identity file is actually pointing the configuration file to my private key on my local machine, which is exactly the same thing we typed in here when we were adding it to the ssh-agent. Then I've activated the forwarding agent. So this other one are just basic information that you needed to add to your configuration file. For this control part, you are likely not going to have this socket, which is a custom location. So you probably need to create that. I think I left a code somewhere here. So you can use this code to create that directory, which is the socket directory, where which is where your when you start your SSH, it needed to have some file there for what you call the multiplex connection, which kind of create a kind of a parallel connection or a concurrent connection between all the servers. It kind of help you to speed up your Ansible playbook. So for your own case, you won't have this, so you kind of run this command to create that. So once you have created this particular directory, so you can just maintain this configuration the way it is. So once you have done that, you can save and close this. Then you can come back to the remote-ssh connection, click on it, click on host. You will see the name of the host you created here. Then once you click on it, it will pop up a new window for you, as you can see on my screen. So let me just increase this a bit so that we can see it. So it will try to open, it's trying to SSH into the Jenkins server, as you can see. So I'm kind of showing the connectivity log. So as you can see, it's already connected. Oh, I'm having a bit of connectivity issue. So 1 minute, let me check my server once again. 1 minute. All right, so we are kind of running the command again. As you can see, I think I've been able to connect. Yes, so I've been able to connect to the so-called bastion host that we are trying to make use of. The forwarding server is working and everything. So let's just wait for the terminal to come live. Once it's finally done, I should have access to the terminal directly so that we can continue with our setup. So at this point, we're just kind of waiting for this. So one of the things I realized is that once you get to the remote server, you need to check, you need to confirm that you have access to the private key, and to do that, you just need to do SSH, right? You need to do SSH, see, SSH add -l. If you get a positive response, that means your remote server, yes. So if you get this kind of response, you can see that it is telling me that the remote server have access to my local private key, which is perfect because we need this private key for further authentication of other server. But if you run into error, what you need to do is for you to copy this particular code, run it, and rerun the ssh-agent. That should kind of will resolve the connectivity issue with respect to that. Now, once we have done that, we need to install Ansible on the bastion server. So you can just copy that code and run. For me, because I've actually installed it earlier on, it will probably just notify me that that has been done. But for you, you probably have a lot of, it probably take a lot of time for it to be done. And secondly, since so for us, since our what do you call it, our configuration code will be hosted on GitHub, we should have a way of kind of logging in into the GitHub for us to be able to, pull and push code directly from our bastion server into the repo we are going to be using to host our configuration code. And to do that, you will need to kind of create an ssh-agent key, which you probably use to authenticate your connection to your repo. And to do that, you just need to copy this code. Basically, you change this particular email session to the email address you are using for your GitHub, right? I've done this setup, and that's the reason why I'm not going to do it again. So, but once you do this, it's going to generate the private key for you, which the private key for your bastion server. Now, once you have that private key, you can use the cat command to kind of print out the public key of your private key on your console, on your terminal. Just copy this and paste. If you look at it, it's the same name of what we generated. So this will give you the public key. Once you have the public key, you just need to come to your GitHub. So I think this is my GitHub. Let me just open another one. So you just need to come to your GitHub. You go to the setup, the settings of your GitHub. Like you can see here, the GitHub settings. You go to the SSH and GPG key. Then you create a new key. So I'll just show you. So this is my GitHub. You come down, you click on that, you look for the settings. This is the settings. You click on this. Once your setting open, you will see the SSH session. Let me just look for that. Yes, this is it. So you click on this. So if you do your cards, let me just do it for sake of the tutorial. Ideally, I'm not supposed to be doing this. But anyway, the server is just for demonstration purposes, so we can do this. So this is the key I'm looking for. This is the key I'm looking for. So I'm going to copy this key, copy everything you are seeing here, then go to your GitHub. You are going to have something like this. Although I've added it already. So, but for the sake of demonstration, you probably will not have this. You just click on new key, and exactly you can give it whatever name you like. Then here you just paste whatever you have copied. Sorry, that's not what I'm supposed to copy. I'm supposed to copy this entire thing here, which is my public key. The private key is already is saved on my server. So once I click on this, I'll click on save. That should save the key. That should kind of save the public key, because GitHub will use that public key to try to access your server when it's trying to connect to your repo, push new code to your repo, and your server will compare the public key with the private key and give the necessary connection to your GitHub repo. To check if this is actually working, once you have added the key to your GitHub, you just copy this, then run this code. If you get a successful message, that shows that there's a connection between your server. You can see whatever. So this shows that your server has a direct connection to your GitHub account, and which will give you direct access to your repo. Now, the next thing is you will need to create an empty repo, basically. So let's just come here. You can just click on this, click on repo, right? And based on what you have created, you can just do, you can call it whatever you like, but for the sake of this, you're supposed to call it Ansible management. Since I've already created this already, just for some demonstration, let me just create one. Once you have done this, that's all you needed to do. You probably select an owner because I have several owners here. So you do this. Then once you are done, you just click on, don't add a readme file, don't add anything, just click on this. And once you are done, you'll probably get this particular page. Then based on this, you can just click on this, copy this, come to your what do you call it, to your terminal on your repo, just paste this here. That should be fine. Then you need to do, once you have done that, which means that if you do ls, you'll be able to see that okay, I'm supposed to have, okay, the problem I'm having here is I think I made a mistake, so let me do sudo remove readme. Let me do this, remove readme. So I'm supposed to get that. So that is gone. So what I'm supposed to do, basically, I'm supposed to create a folder with the same name. So I'm going to do make directory. Sorry about that. So I'm making this directory, which is the name of my repo. I'm just going to make this directory. Then I'm going to paste this here. I'm making this directory, which is fine. So I'm going to ssh into the directory, right? Then after I've ssh into directory, then I can run this command, which is going to create the readme file inside that folder, right? Now, you are likely going to get this, oh, you don't have the permission, blah, 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 stuff like that, which is fine. So basically what you need to do, I think I added, so what you need to do is copy this code, is to ensure that Ubuntu, because now the folder, because we use sudo to create the folder, the owner of this folder is the root, but we want to ensure that the Ubuntu user on this particular directory actually have access to the folder to be able to modify the folder. So I'm going to do this and run the command again. At this point, I should be able to run the command. No, everything is fine now. Then, while still inside the command, I'm going to initiate a empty repo, local repo per se, which is fine. Then it's telling you blah blah blah. Just don't bother about that, right? Let's go back to this so that we are using the right thing. Now, there's HTTPS and SSH, because we are using SSH connection. So ensure that you click on this SSH. Then I think we have done this. Then the next thing we want to do is add that git. I need to add this to the staging area. Copy this also. You can kind of change the commit message to whatever you like. So first commit, you can change it to anything, but for demonstration purposes, just going to leave that alone. Then we need to change, ideally by default, when you create a repo, it's going to call the repo master, which is what this is kind of flagging. So we need to modify that. Instead of master, we're going to change it to main, so which is what this command is all about. Then I'm going to add the GitHub repo URL to my local repo so that both the local repo and the GitHub repo can communicate with one another. Then once I'm done, I can push my changes to the GitHub repo, which is exactly what I just did. Now, if everything works fine, right? If everything works fine, if I refresh this page, I should have this here. Now, the next thing I want to do, so which means that both my local repo and my remote repo can communicate with one another, which is exactly what we have achieved here. So the next thing is to create the inventory and the playbook directory inside this and create the various files that we need there. So you can just copy this. So before we do that, we need to kind of create our own branch, following the Git flow, Git workflow. Create a new branch by doing checkout -b. Then I can call the branch, you can call the branch features/projects 001. This is just for demonstration purposes. How you create your branch, how you name your branch will be based on the kind of project you are working on, though. But for demonstration purposes, we just create this. So doing this, we kind of create a branch and kind of change into the branch. So based on that, I can now, create my directories and my different file systems. So based on that, if you now do code I, you should be able to open up your code editor at this point, and you'll be able to see your various files. So the next step we are going to do is to update your dev configuration, and also to update your playbook, which is what Ansible is going to use to run the various playbook with respect to what. So in our playbook, basically, we just wanted to ensure that we connect to the various server and install the Wirechark on each one of them. The same thing with respect to this. And the reason why we kind of separate them, because the NFS, the web servers, and the DB server are running on Red Hat, while my load balancer is running on Ubuntu. And that's the reason why we separate them, because the Red Hat is using a different package manager. It's using the Yum package manager, while Ubuntu is using the APT package manager. And because they are using different package manager, that's the reason why we can kind of combine the configuration instruction. So basically, you can see that all the files are created. You can update this, but ensure that when you are updating your dev, ensure that the private IP for each one of them is exactly what you set up on your AWS. For me, since I've done this, I don't want to redo this. I'm just going to show you guys. So let me just do my Ansible. Alright, so this is this is the one I did. So let me just, so I can close this. This is mine. So So basically, once you have done that, you updated this, you push your code following the GitHub. I don't want to be explaining what the GitHub workflow is all about. You can read more on that. But once you are done, you add all your files, you put the changes to your GitHub. Once that has been done, you should be able to see your code. You should be able to see your code on GitHub, which I'm going to show you what I did earlier on. So, so this is what I did earlier on. The code will be on GitHub. Ideally, once you push your code to GitHub, see, you push your code to GitHub, which is fine, when you are trying to push it, you are not pushing to main, you are pushing to the project hyphen 001. I just work directly on my main because I'm just the only one that is working on it. But in the real production settings, you can't work directly on the main, and that's why we talk about the GitHub flow. You have to create a branch, a feature branch, push your code, create a pull request, uh, um, create a pull request. A pull request will allow um, this is a pull request. So a pull request will allow somebody within your team to review your configuration setting, to know that, oh, okay, what you have written, the configuration you have created has no error, is good and everything. You can test your Ansible playbook. There's something they call dry run in Ansible where you kind of simulate the connectivity without really running the playbook. So somebody can kind of do a kind of dry run with your playbook from their own end to see that everything you have written is correct. Then once that has been done, your pull request will be accepted and it will merge back into the main. And to kind of test that, I kind of create a CI/CD pipeline here on my Jenkins to kind of test that flow to know that if to see if the stuff, if you merge the main, I can quickly automate the CI/CD pipeline, which is kind of in my view is optional, but if you want to do that, it's something you can do. Then once you have done that, you probably need to change back to your main branch. And once you change back to your main branch, ensure that you still have the um, SSH agents having access to your private key. Then you can run your Ansible playbook directly. If everything goes well, everything should run without issue. So this is how you run Ansible playbook -I, the server group file, which is the DevOps, telling you, okay, this is the servers I want you to SSH into, and the playbook tells Ansible, okay, these are the various um, actions I want you to perform on my what do you call it, on my server. So this is trying to reconnect to my okay, it's trying to reconnect to my Jenkins server. So let me just reload. That. I think just connectivity issue. So basically, once you run the playbook, you're gonna have something like this, popping up, showing you. It's going to show you the list of servers based on what you have defined. That, oh, okay, I can see this server, I can see this server based on the various tags, and I can connect to this server, and it will run the various. So let's just wait for this to reconnect so that we can demonstrate this again. So we have been able to get bastion connected. So let's run the Ansible playbook and see what the output will look like. So you can see it's playing the first tags. It's able to connect with this. is installing, so it's able to get all the private IP for the web server, the NFS, and the DB, which are running on Red Hat, and he has ensured he runs the necessary package. Same thing with the load balancer, and this is the output. And the reason why you're having this output is uh, because I've run this before, so he has installed the web shack already on the NFL, the web servers, and the DB. And what he just did is just to run that same stuff on the load balancer. So, and that's the reason why on the load balancer you can see changes is equal to 1, while on the other one there is no change. So this is basically what you have. If you look at the playbook itself, you will see that we have two basic tasks. The first one is to update the web server, NFS, and the DB. Like I said, the reason why we separated it into two is because um, this web server, NFS, and the DB are running on a different OS compared to the load balancer. The load balancer and Ubuntu OS, while the NFS web server and whatever are running on Red Hat. So, and that's the reason why we separated them per se. So in the first one, we updated the servers, then we check if web chat is installed and if it's actually the latest. If not, we install it or we update it depending on what we found on those servers. The second one, we look into the load balancer, we update what we needed to update with respect to that. Then, which is the first task. The second task is, which is what we have here, updating the server. Then the other one is installing the necessary web shack package. In this one, I don't think we did not update the repo. We just install the web shack, and that's the reason why in the first one we gather the necessary facts. And when we say fact gathering, which means that we are getting information about the OS and the various, the various configuration information on each of the server. And we just went straight to install the web shack or check if it's installed. On the second one, we gathered facts for the load balancer. We update the OS using the apt update. Then when we are done, we just installed or confirm if the web shack is installed. So this is just a kind of a demonstration on how you can use Ansible as a configuration manager to do auto configuration for your various server. On in the subsequent video, we are going to dive deep into how to use Ansible for various configuration tasks and automation. And I'm hoping that you can like and subscribe to my channel. And I'm looking to keep you abreast with the various projects with respect to the DevOps training that I'm currently undergoing. Thank you.